So you already know what a calorie deficit is, but what you don't know is how to stay in one long enough to get the results that you're looking for. That's why in today's video, I'm gonna teach you 10 cheat codes that I've learned on how to stay in a calorie deficit over the last 21 years. No, I haven't been in a calorie deficit for 21 years.
That would be insane.
But I've been doing calorie deficits on and off for 21 years to lose fat, maintain my weight, and then bulk up a little bit. Did we talk, is it 10? Is it 10? I don't actually have somebody over here helping me, I'm just pretending I do. So let's go ahead and dive into the first tip, which is plan your meals ahead of time. And don't just plan them, but track them in your calorie tracker. If you're already tracking calories, plan all of what you're going to eat before you eat it. This is going to make things thousands of times easier. One of the biggest mistakes that I made when I first started was logging food as I went. And the problem with this is that you could get to the end of the day and have not eaten enough protein, eaten enough calories, or maybe even eaten too many calories. So if you plan everything ahead, look at what you're going to eat, know exactly how many calories you're going to eat for that day based on the foods that you've already planned, being in a calorie deficit is a lot easier than it would be if you tried to track it as you go. All right, cheat code number 2 is don't keep your trigger foods in the house. You've probably heard this put a couple of different ways, but my trigger food, or the food that I love to eat a lot of, is tortilla chips. I don't care what kind of tortilla chips they are, although I do have my favorites. If I have tortilla chips in the house, there's at one point I'm going to the house and taking a few out. And I'm the kind of person who kind of lives by the Pringles model.
Once you pop, the fun don't stop.
I'm not eating 4 tortilla chips and going, no, I feel full. Oh no, I'm eating half that bag and I'm watching my favorite TV show at the same time. I don't put those foods in my house during a calorie deficit. When I'm trying to lose body fat, those foods stay out of the house. They have their time, they have their place. I'm not overly restricting them because I'm not saying I'm never gonna eat this again. It's just for this period of time, I know what this food does to me, I'm not gonna eat it. All right, tip number 3 really works if you're the kind of person who doesn't eat a lot of variety and can kind of eat roughly the same foods every single day. And this is just eat on the weekends what you eat during the week. So the weekends are no different. I mean, they're different from a social standpoint. You're probably not going to work, things like that. But what you eat on the weekend should pretty much be the same as what you eat on the weekdays. Yes, you might want to have a little bit more variety on the weekends, and I encourage that if you can maintain it. But what I typically do is, for the most part, unless I'm going out to eat at a restaurant or I'm going to a social event to eat, I pretty much eat roughly the same foods. I eat eggs, I eat Greek yogurt, I'll have vegetables, I'll have plenty of fruits, I'll have some grains in the form of oatmeal. It doesn't really change that much. Now, if you're the kind of person that needs a lot of variety, you might have to work a little harder to make this happen. But if you can at least try to do that, the amount of calories you're going to consume on the weekends is gonna look roughly the same as the amount that you eat during the weekday. All right, tip number 4 is also a hack for the weekend. And this is something I've been doing for the last 8 years, and it makes being in a calorie deficit so much easier. That is intermittent fasting. I'm not saying you have to intermittent fast every day. I'm just saying on the weekends, it is a huge beneficial tool for reducing how many total calories you're going to eat by reducing how many times during that day you're going to eat. So there's 2 things that happen on the weekend. We get a little bit more lax, we get a little bit more social, we don't have the same routine as like when we're at work. So the opportunity to eat more food either throughout the entire day or eat foods that are higher in calories throughout the day go up a lot. The way that you can sort of mitigate this or minimize this is to essentially skip an entire meal that you would normally eat on the weekend. So if you normally eat breakfast, take breakfast out. That's 400 to 600 calories now that you have that can help you with your deficit. Now you're eating between lunch time and dinner time, bedtime, noon to like 9 p.m. If you have 2 meals in that time and you have 1 snack and both of those meals are 800 calories, that's 1,600 calories worth of meals, another 300 calories worth of snacks, that's only 1,900 calories. Then that's the perfect deficit to have on the weekend. And having those higher meals, those calories, or those meals with higher calories, allows you to go out and go to a restaurant and get what a normal restaurant meal is going to be, which is anywhere between 700 and 1,200 calories. If it works for your schedule and it's something that you kind of feel like you could try out, do it. All right, tip or cheat code number 5 is get an electrolyte powder because it's going to make being in a calorie deficit so much easier. Obviously, when you're in a calorie deficit, you are consuming less calories, which means you are going to have less energy, which means you're gonna feel pretty tired. Now, if you feel really, really tired, your calorie deficit's probably too aggressive, but if you just feel a little bit more tired than you normally do, this is normal. Something that can help with this feeling, especially throughout the day, is an electrolyte powder, typically between meals. The other thing you can do is just salt your food a little bit more. I know that mainstream media and health has been trying to demonize salt for the longest time, and I really don't know why. I think it contributes to blood pressure problems, but that hasn't actually been founded in any science. So anyway, salt your food when it's appropriate. And what's cool about salt, by the way, just as like a little caveat, is that you have a natural aversion to eating too much salt. So if you have too much salt, you'll naturally go,
"Ugh, this is too much, I don't need this."
And then you don't need any more salt and you don't have to worry about it. So it's not like you're gonna overdo salt. You're pretty much gonna have a pretty strong aversion to too much salt anyway. Okay, electrolyte powders between meals, or if you are somebody who does intermittent fasting or any sort of fasting whatsoever, electrolyte powders are really, really important. Something also to consider if you're someone who drinks a lot of energy drinks or you're someone who drinks a lot of coffee, those beverages deplete your hydration. So I'm not just talking about putting back water. People think that when they drink something that dehydrates them, they're just peeing out water. And yes, it is water, but it also is magnesium, it's also potassium, and it's also sodium. Those are all three crucial minerals to keeping you hydrated at all times. So if you drink a lot of caffeine, but you don't drink a lot of electrolytes, you don't get those minerals back, you're always gonna have some sort of energy imbalance. I'm not saying it's gonna give you the sort of energy that an energy drink would, but it's going to make you feel a lot better and a lot less tired. So honestly, invest in a electrolyte powder. I use two different versions. One of them is really cheap and the other one's kind of expensive.
And honestly, I gotta drink something. My throat is fucking killing me.
And honestly, I don't really tell the difference, so get the cheaper one, but you can get Gatorade Zero. It's like 5 calories per packet. You just throw it into like a water bottle that looks like this, and you drink that between meals. And I promise you, you are going to feel a lot better between meals. It's not necessarily going to curb hunger, but it's going to give you more energy, which is going to allow you to get your workouts in, your steps in, all the activity you need to do. One of the hardest things about being in a calorie deficit is actually going out and doing any sort of activity. This is gonna help a lot with that. When I tell you it's the best cheat code on this list, I am not kidding. All right, cheat code number 6 is gonna sound really weird, but don't do as much meal prep as you probably think you should. Now, I don't mean don't prep your meals at all, like just eat fast food. What I mean is find convenient foods that take less cooking. Fruits, vegetables, Greek yogurt, beef jerky, protein bars, protein drinks, pickles. Pickles are one of my favorite foods, and they're like less than 3 calories for like half a pickle or something like that. It's insane. You can eat a ton of them. Strawberries are another one. Blueberries are another one. You can get a ton of blueberries for very little calories. Add more volume foods to your diet. Not only volume foods, but foods that you don't have to cook. This is going to make a huge difference. Eat lots of salads. Throw as many vegetables in that thing as you can. Get a relatively decent calorie dressing. It's one of those things where the less cooking you have to do, or I should say the more prep you have to do, like you have to prep all of your food in one day. It's gonna take 2 to 4 hours depending on what you're cooking, throughout the day. That can be a lot of work. And trust me, I still do that to some extent, but I've done a lot less and I've seen a higher ability to stay consistent with the calorie deficit and go longer. Like instead of going a month and being like,
Dude, I don't think I can do this anymore.
I'm on 1.5 months and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is hard, but like it's not as hard as it used to be because the foods that I'm eating are already ready to go. And when you have ready to go foods in a calorie deficit and you have those planned out, it makes cheating almost impossible because you always have something you can eat and you never have to have that question in your head like, oh, what should I eat? Or what are the foods that are within my wheelhouse for this cut? Cheat code number 7 I kind of already alluded to, and that is get as many voluminous foods as you can. Blueberries, strawberries, lettuce, spring mix, pickles, kimchi or fermented vegetables. Eat a lot of salads. Get used to eating things like broccoli and cauliflower and cucumbers and carrots. Eat as many fruits as you want. Like these are foods that you can eat a large amount of, but for the calories, it's pretty small, and that is going to fill you up and keep you full because it has fiber, water, and if you're including some sort of protein with this, even better. So if you want to eat more food, number 8 is perfect for you. Don't drink your calories. Find as many low-calorie beverages as you can. Water with electrolytes, it's like 5 calories a packet. Coffee, black, tea by itself. Energy drinks that are low calorie or 0 calorie, flavor packets that are 0 calories or 5 calories, and then obviously diet sodas. So whatever you do, don't drink your calories, find 0 calorie options for the drinks that you like, and don't be afraid to use diet sodas. No, they're not gonna give you cancer, and no, they're not gonna stall your fat loss. Just drink them in moderation. Cheat code number 9 is more on the exercise end, but probably not the way you're thinking about it, like at a gym, on a treadmill, or a Stairmaster, or lifting weights. No, this is called non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is the type of activity that burns calories, like when you're brushing your teeth, or you're walking to your backyard to go water it, or you're playing with your kids in the house, or you're walking to and from your car at work. This is all the activity that burns calories throughout the day that you don't even really think about. But you can make this easier for yourself if you do some small little tweaks, and this is my favorite one. One, always put your cart back when you go to the grocery store. If you're the kind of person who just lazily puts it on the little planter area where there's like cement and stuff, first of all, you shouldn't be watching this video because you're a sinner.
And that is not allowed.
So that's one way to burn more calories. The second way is just park further away from the grocery store and walk your little butt all the way up to the front, and there, you just got 50 extra steps. What I like to do is I work a typical office job, so during my 10-minute breaks, I go walk for 10 minutes, that's 1,000 steps. Takes about 10 minutes to get 1,000 steps at an average person's pace. Second break, walk again. Summer's coming up, it's gonna be 110 degrees. Do I wanna do it? Hell no. Am I gonna do it?
Hell yes.
That's 2,000 steps a day that I get extras simply because I went outside on my 10-minute break. Find as many things as you can walk to, and it be reasonable. There's a Starbucks within walking distance of my house. I walk there every Saturday. Get an extra 2,000 steps roughly, just because I walked to Starbucks instead of drove there. So there's little ways that you can add more steps. And that's the other thing, by the way, if you haven't watched any of my other videos, step count is important. Try to get 8,000 to 12,000 steps a day. If you're only getting like 5,000 steps, don't worry about it. Try to increase it by 1,000 to 1,500 steps and just slowly do that until you get to 8,000. Trust me, it's not gonna be easy right away, but you'll get to it, because as you start to lose more weight and feel better and have more energy and sleep better, you're gonna wanna actually move more. You're actually gonna look forward to moving more. All right, cheat code number 10, which I think is our last one. Did we talk, is it 10? Is it 10? I don't actually have somebody over here helping me, I'm just pretending I do. Number 10 is a little bit more advanced, but it could honestly be done by anyone. And that is to mix up your carbs and fats ratio. So if you're tracking your calories, tracking your macros, you know that protein is pretty much locked at a certain percentage. It's gonna be anywhere between 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight, and that's roughly going to be whatever your body weight is, and that's pretty much the way it's always going to be. Carbs and fats, though, can be a lot more flexible. Studies show that people that eat high carb diets are just as effective as people that eat high fat diets if protein and calories are controlled. So you can kind of choose whatever you want to. And so the reason why this is awesome is because if you're the kind of person like me who gets more full and stays more full on a higher fat content, then that's what you should do. If you're the kind of person who stays more full with more carbs and more protein, then that's what you should do. It also kind of depends on your goals. Some people experience that for fat loss, higher fat, higher protein, moderate to low carbs is easier to maintain satiety in a fat loss phase. And then for people that are maintaining or bulking, they find that high protein, high carbs, relatively low fats, except for the essentials that you need, is a lot more beneficial because they're able to get more calories and build more muscle. So it kind of depends on your goals, but also it kind of depends on you as a person. I'm always the kind of person that feels more full on higher fats. I could eat carbs and proteins until the cows come home. It's not the kind of thing that I'm going to invest in or use my strategy for when I'm trying to reduce calories. Number 11 isn't an official tip, so it's kind of a bonus, but if your sleep is dramatically affected by your calorie deficit, newsflash, it's too aggressive. I don't care how excited about how much fat you're losing. If you're trying to lose fat but keep muscle, sleep is important. If you're trying to build muscle and lose fat, sleep is important. There's really no other way to get around it. There's nothing that can replace it. So if your sleep is getting really, really, really bad, like you usually sleep 8 hours a night and you're sleeping 6 and you're waking up at like 4 a.m. and you can't go back to sleep, or you wake up to pee at 1 a.m. and you can't go back to sleep, that's a sign that your calorie deficit's too aggressive. You need to bump up calories a little bit. I know you're thinking,
wait, what? I can go up in calories during a calorie deficit?
as long as it's still within the deficit. I'm not saying go up another 400 calories because now you're at maintenance and your whole deficit, agenda is gone, but slightly increase calories by like 100 and see if sleep improves. Slightly increase your calories by 150, see if it improves. One of the most important things you need to realize is that you want to try to eat as many calories as you can and lose fat at the same time. It's not about cutting calories super low, because then you're like, okay, now I'm eating 1,500 calories. What kind of life is this?
Yeah, that's exactly what kind of life is this. What are you doing? Why would you do that to yourself? Do you hate yourself? Of course you do. Of course I do.
obviously.
So what I would recommend doing is starting with something that's you think is moderate, and just, this is a really long bonus tip, so I apologize, maybe this should already be its own video, but just stick with me if you're interested in this. You should only be losing about 0.5 to 1% of your total weight each week. So yeah, it's like, you know, as long as you're losing within that range, that's perfect. And if you're sleeping better as a result of it, that's even more perfect. So anyway, that's tip number 11. Probably should have been its own video, but anyway, if you like this video, thanks a ton for checking it out. I would definitely like it if you've watched this far, right? And because you already actually like it, you just didn't hit the button yet. And if there's anything that I talked about, you're like, dude, I've never heard of that in my life. Can you explain that? Just, you know, put it in the comments. All right, I'm done. See you later.